Hello everyone. Cue in epic music, I don't know, craziness, no voice, blah blah blah. My name is Choo Choo Sama. I've always played, well, I started off as a mesmer, and because I started off as a mesmer, I kind of spent a lot of time on it. Let's see. So what we're gonna do today is we're just gonna kind of look at the build. It's something that I kind of made because, again, Chronomancers are like one of the least utilized classes in WvW. So let's start with the build. So in WvW, Chronomancer's role is to provide crowd control in clashes through its elite skill, Gravity Well. And you can see Gravity Well creates a powerful well that warps space in an area, knocking down and floating and pulling foes caught in the event horizon. When it expires, foes still inside the well take heavy damage. So if you want to see it, so that's how it looks like. As well as pulse or temporal curtain or into the void. And you also have time sink, shatter, dazing, and slowing down your target. And if you swap over to shield, you have tides of time, so that also provides some CC. Okay, its utility is really awesome in that it provides illusion of life, and basically your allies are temporarily alive, and which is good because you want to have more of your allies in Zerg fights. And you have this Mimic. Mimic, what it does is it allows you to do skill twice. So the ones that is useful for Mesmer, like the Illusion of Life for example, it has a pretty long cooldown. So by using Mimic, you can actually do Illusion of Life twice. So that's very, very useful. You can also actually do Continuum Split. And if you're fast enough, you can use all of these skills, and then you'll go back to your original things. So you'll see that on some of the playthrough. Okay. So this is like a jack of all trade type of a class, and oh boy, my character looks so beautiful, doesn't she? Anyway, so with that said, let's look at some of the traits. This is my build, and because its role isn't really to do damage but to provide control, you really want your class to survive. And so because you want them to survive, this is one of the most tanky specialization that you have with Mesmer. Okay, so you have Power Cleanse, and then this is a free feedback, which is really good for reviving. Because this build doesn't really use mantras, you're not going to be using that. And like you'll have some ways to take conditions away from yours, so I find the feedback is actually much more useful. So in this build, this trait is kind of useless because you don't really have anything that would give you any distortion. And then here you can kind of choose either between Warden's Feedback, which will provide projectile protection, or you can actually use Restorative Illusion. So if you find that you want extra heals and condition clearing, then you can trade for this instead of that. This is a little bit more aggressive. And then you have the last trait, which is Summoning an Illusion, heals all allies around you. So it really doesn't matter whether if you are able to target and summon. As long as you can summon, then you can kind of provide some of heals. This it's really bad in that there's a 90-second cooldown on it. And then this one, since I don't use any signets, there's no use for it. Okay, this is what makes my build a little bit different than others. I use a Chaos line versus Domination that's used by most people. And the reason being is because with Domination, even though it provides like the Shatter, remove on boons on hit, which is really, really what people kind of use it for, you're not going to be able to have clones or phantoms up to hit people with your shatter. Your shatters are more for self-buffing versus applying damage. Another thing to note is that even though you can self-shatter and get that effect, you don't get enough value out of using that skill, since you won't be able to have 3 clones or illusions up. So that's another reason why. So that's why I opted for chaos instead. Okay, so for chaos, you want to use manipulation. That's really important because one of your bread and butter skill is your manipulation skill. So mimic is a manipulation skill, illusion of life is a manipulation skill. If you need a little bit more ways to kind of escape, then blink is also a manipulation skill, so you want this to come up as fast as you can. And every time when you do use it, then you have super speed, so you can go faster, which is great. And then we're going to be using this one. So every time when you're disabled and whatnot, then it kind of converts some of the damage, condition damage, into boons. Let's see. This one, because we're not a condition build, is kind of useless. And chaos armor, we're not using staff or anything like that. So again, this is probably the better choice. And then the last one I'm using is bountiful disillusion. So every time when I do shatter, I get stability. Stability is really important in WvW because without stability, you're going to get pulled, and your role as a crowd control is kind of null because you're the one that's being pulled around, so you don't want that to happen. Prismatic understanding is pretty nice, but the scrappers have kind of took over the stealthing, so it's not that useful in Zerg fights. And then chaotic interruption. This is kind of nice. It's more for like aggressive play, so it's kind of up to you whether if you want to do chaotic interruption and or a bit more of a defensive play, which is bountiful disillusionment. I'd rather have passive defense going on, so that's that. Okay, and then finally the Chronomancer line. The reason that Chronomancer is really great is that it opens up for you to use shield. So off shield, the Tides of Time, it provides alacrity, so 25% skill recharge, which is great, and then it allows you to block some stuff. You know, when this came out at launch, it was so powerful that it's been nerfed like 5 times. Okay, that's an exaggeration, but it's been nerfed for quite a bit. So, but it's still good. It's still good. And then you can use continuum split. So continuum split, for each of the clones that you have, you can press this button and then just use up all your skill, and then once it ends, what you could use before. So the way I like using it is that when I use a continuum split, I try and shatter whatever I have up, so that way if I have time, and then do the gravity well or other CCs, so that way if I'm not given stab or stability, I can still give myself some stability so my skills can go off. Disabling flow slows down. Or if you stun them somehow, that does that too. Activating a shatter gives your illusion super speed. Again, you're not going to make a lot of illusions, so it's not that helpful. And then this is just kind of it's kind of nice to have that extra heal, so you can have either this one or this one, so whichever you want. Okay, gain alacrity every time you shatter, so gain alacrity every time you shatter, and that's really really nice. So 5 has a lot of cooldown, but if you do some shatter, then it's going to help reduce some of that cooldown. So that's very helpful for all the skills, actually, even continuum split. And then you have danger time, so gain additional critical hit chance against slowed enemies. And then again, you need to have 3 clones in order to have this, so you won't have enough clones for this to proc. And then alacrity that you apply is stronger, and I don't really use alacrity aside from Tides of Time, and again, that has a very long cooldown, so I'd rather not dedicate a trait for this. Time Marches On is amazing. This makes Chrono move pretty smooth compared to other classes. And then gain quickness for each clone that you shatter, so Seize the Moment is really nice. And nearby allies also gain quickness, so that's why Seize the Moment is the better trade versus Lost Time and Chronophantasm. So with that said, not really into numbers and such, so I have something that is really for like a casual player. So what you might want to do is, if you're new to this class, then you might want to look for or use stats that would give you toughness and fatality. So minstrel stats would probably be the best one for you if you're not used to it and you're dying all the time. As you go better, then you might want to maybe try for more power. So the one that I'm using, I just kind of choose it just because it's there, is this one here: power, toughness, vitality, and concentration. So concentration increases boon duration. So I have most of my stat with this, and I have ruin of durability just because, again, I want to survive the clashes, and this one gives me a little bit of toughness. You can't I'm not too sure like what other sigils might be good for this type of build, but you know, the main point is to survive, so you have those choices. So I have a mixture of Wanderer, Commanders. So Commander, so it has more power and precision. And I also have Zerker. So that's my half-ass stats. You want to use the equipment you want to use is sword, focus, and shield. And with the sigil, again, this is a casual sky for it, so I'm pretty sure there's better sigils. I'm using Superior Sigil of Force. I kind of feel like Sigil of Energy is a must because it allows you to have endurance, so you can kind of have extra dodges. And yeah, so that's the build. Every time when there's a siege down, you want to do shield 5 to provide alacrity. And in order for you to generate alacrity, and alacrity is, it makes your skill go faster, so that means whoever's on siege is going to be able to use the siege faster. You can do shatters to yourself, which is traded to have alacrity every time when you shatter. So again, every time when you see siege, make sure you do shield 5 for them and kind of stick around so that you can help them out. The faster tower goes down or walls goes down, the faster you'll be able to cap. Okay, so we are kind of engaged, but not really. Anytime when you see red, I do Blur Frenzy to kind of help with mitigating damage. And then I put the heal down there so that it kind of helps with the repositioning. Shield 5 again for alacrity. There's a lot of red stuff here, so again, Blurred Frenzy. Okay, here the commander is pushing for a push, so Dawn went off and I provided no field and gravity well, and just kind of help with that push. So here's another example of well, this is an example of using the Illusion of Life. Illusion of Life kind of temporarily gives or revives the down players. So pulls in the middle with focus pull, and get to when they get to a reposition, just kind of provide the heal right there. And I see some down players, so there's down. And right here, let's see, I was able to do continuing split to do grab well once, and then another one again twice because the commander's asking for the push. Blur Frenzy again to help with mitigating damage. I do have stab, which is great, and there's a lot of downs, so every time when you have a down and you can res safely, then you have a free back. Feedback is is one of those useful skill which reflects projectiles, so that's pretty good. Shield 5 for alacrity and to kind of stun the enemies. Right now I kind of felt a little bit vulnerable, so that's why I did Blur Frenzy there to try and get out of that mess. And then every time when I kind of feel like there's craziness going on, I just chatter because it's my oh shit button. So there's another example of using Mimic and then to do the Illusion of Life, so that way you can do 2 times because Illusion of Life has a really long cooldown. It's about a minute long. I have my grab wall up, so I'm going to try and provide CC as our Zerg passes through, and I can use Shield 4 to kind of get to the end of that platform. I can also shatter as I go. In this case I don't have shatter, so no fuel, and then again we're trying to reposition, but ultimately we're going to jump down. And we lost a lot of people there. Okay, moving on. This is an example of what's a good pull. So up there you see those downs. A lot of the times people will try and help other people with the downs or revive, so you use that to your advantage and pull. Here's another one. This time around the commander is asking for a pull, so he puts it there, so we all pulled and we got a lot of enemies. Again, here's another example where focused pull called by the commander is really helpful to just kind of, I guess cool down some of the players on the other side. Okay, this one is an example of not a bad place to res because of that res, I'm away from the commander and I have to blow off a lot of crap in order to catch up to him. And I kind of recover, but not really. So the moral of the story is, do not get off the tag. Even if it's for a good reason, don't get off. Okay, so finally, this isn't really a big push per se, but they're pushing in, and I was able to do a continuum split because it's a good spot. Because every time when you do a continuum split, it kind of puts you into back to that spot, and if you put it in a really bad place, then you can get caught in a lot of that red stuff down there. Again, every time he reposition, place a heal field down. Okay, this is an example of a very bad port. So another mess, not me, put down a port, and he went to the other side and he said, "It's ready." We got out. I have to blow everything in order to survive, and as you can see, it cost a wipe. So don't make a bad port. Okay, and thankfully we're able to kind of go again. Resing means free feedback. He put a veil down there, and I didn't like the way the red stuff there, so I went the other way, and then you can see that the Zerg is moving to the other direction by the yellow arrow, so that's why I was able to continue the split right there and be able to do that safely. In this, I got caught and I was out of everything, but I don't know how I survived. So my panic mode is Shield 4, Blur Frenzy, if I can have that done. I don't think I did it because I kind of felt like I was in a good spot. And yeah. So sometimes you get lucky, oftentimes you don't. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you very much for watching.